Well, mailbag time again. Bunch of stuff here. This is a review item. We'll check that out last. Got some other interesting things in here, so make sure you stick around to find out what these are. As always, I'll stick links down below for the various items. And one of the very last things that I'm going to be showing, you'll definitely be interested in. Oh right, it's like a magnetic mat thing. There's a magnet in there. What was this for? I've forgotten what this is for now. Oh, that's right, for doing solder stencils. If you're soldering devices and you're doing stencils, you've got a rubber mat there, so it's slipping around, and you put the stencil on top. It's actually got like a recess in it. You can see it there, not? Dips down. So you put the stencil in there, and because it's magnetic, it helps pull the stencil down, help it work better. I saw someone else using one of these. I can't remember what channel it was now. Let's get a stencil. So I've got a stencil here. I've used this for various things. This is actually a MacBook one, I think. I actually don't remember. I know, iPhone 6s stencil. But I got this because some of these templates actually fit other things as well. So the idea is you get something like this and you stick it on here. So you line your chip up and you put that on there, and the magnet sucks it down. Look at that. Look how effective that is. So when you're trying to do pasting, you can literally sit it, line it all up with the chip, get it all in place, and then this holds it down for you. You don't have to hold it down with tweezers and that sort of stuff. And it's very effective. Now I don't know how this will go with heat. Obviously magnets don't like heat, but this is meant for reballing. So I'll put it around that side, which is it's bowed that way, and it pulls it back down. It's all flat. It's nice. So it works really well. That's very effective. I'm looking forward to using this in the future. It's going to be a lot easier. You know, self-aligning as well, because it's going to hold itself there, because it's just going to grip it. But slide around. That's really nice. I like that. Wish I'd known about these things a lot sooner. If you can hear the fan in the background, that's for a item which I'm going to show you in the next mailbag. That's right, I'm using it before I've received it. I am in New Zealand, so things do happen backwards here. You know, time travel is a thing, but I'm always ahead of you. So it's completely normal. JCID 13 thing. Some kind of flex. Oh, I don't know what this is for. Face ID flex, okay. For the JCID programmer, iPhone repair thing. I got this as a precaution, just in case I ever need it. I don't currently need it, but I can put it in my stuff for doing iPhone repairs. Yeah, sorry, it's boring for most people. iBridge A3. What is this? It's a Qianli device. It's probably another iPhone repair thing, sorry. Right, it's got lightning cables and USB-C cable, or adapters. So you can plug these into a phone to do some kind of diagnostics thing. I saw this somewhere. It wasn't very expensive. I thought I'd get one, have a play with it. I don't know if it's particularly useful or anything. Maybe it just tells you if your TriStar's knackered or whatever it may be. Covers play lightning and USB-C, so newer and older phones. It's got USB-C ports up here and a little jog dial thing. I don't know. Give me a link for it, but if you're not into iPhone stuff, which most people aren't, you probably don't care. So I'm going to put this back in the box and we'll move on. People keep commenting about my RAM stick. No, oh, you know, why aren't you using a knife? Or you could buy a knife, and you know, you do these mailbag things, buy a knife. Well, I like a RAM stick because it doesn't damage what's inside the packages. If I use the knife, the amount of times I cut into things or damage things while cutting them open, it'd be really frequent. I have done that in the past. Right, these are some little notebook things, little mini notebooks. I think I got carried away. I have to be honest, I think I did get carried away on these ones. I got some of these ones before. They're almost exactly the same. These are in the previous mailbag, which you'll see next week. I'm spoiling it. Yeah, so little notebooks. These are refills. I thought it could be useful for something. I think I got carried away. The main reason I got them was for doing geocaching, right? So I have a geocache. I think the definition is using multi-million-dollar satellites to find things hidden in the woods. I don't know, something like that. It was wet, so I had to replace the notebook in it. Well, I have to replace the notebook. I haven't actually done it yet, which is why I got these. I've got these smaller ones and I've got these slightly bigger ones, thinking I can fit one of those in a geocache because that's be small, And people can then write their logs in there to say they've found the geocache, and I can verify that when people say they found it, they actually have. Anyway, yeah, geocaching. If you've got kids and stuff, it's great for that. I'm not going to open the packet yet. Reason being, FM18W08. 10 of them in here. These are FRAM ICs. It's got a date on the back. Bag seal date. Oh, okay, interesting. But yeah, I will open it, what the hell. It shouldn't matter. You're right. I must use a real knife for this, sorry. It's almost sacrilege. It's all sealed properly and everything. Anyway, there they are. FRAM ICs. These are used for dating test equipment. If you've got like a Dallas RAM in there, SRAM, which have got the batteries built into it with a backup. So when the battery goes flat, you lose the memory. Those aren't made anymore, but don't believe. I think Maxim took them over. I don't know if you still got Maxim versions, I don't know. But a good idea is to use these FRAM devices. Now, some are pin compatible, depending on the model of the original Dallas SRAM device. Some are pin compatible. But unfortunately, you can only get them in SIC now. You can't get the dip versions anymore. You better get a dip version which plugs straight in some cases. But now you only get SIC, so you have to use adapters. It's not a big deal. I've got some of those because I've got some equipment which uses SRAMs. Like my Datron calibrator, for example, is using SRAMs with a battery backup. So it's got an external battery, lithium-ion or something in there. Is that right? Can't remember what exactly it was now. One of those special long life batteries which last for decades. But they don't last forever when actually being used. I think it's got like a 10-year life or something. I've tested it recently over Christmas just to make sure that it's actually still doing okay. I pulled the thing apart, retested it, because I did that calibrator about 3 years ago, I think, and tested it then, and it was okay. Or maybe I even put it in there. I might have installed it a few years ago, I don't remember. And anyway, I tested it. It's still 3.7 volts. It's still perfectly happy. But if I lose the memory on that, I lose the calibration of my calibrator, which is not a good thing. So I want to update it with FRAM, which I think brings us to this box. Now these FRAM ICs, they're around right now and they're fairly inexpensive to get. You know, talking, depending on the version, I don't know, 10 or 20 bucks, something like that to get one. So not too bad, but that won't be forever. That will change. There'll be a point in time when they're not available anymore. So I stocked up with as many as I think I might need. And part of that is obviously doing modifications. I have to use a real knife again. So here are some PCBs. So these are my design. It's from JDDB on the ED blog forum. So these are the HM6116 devices, right? So that's the SRAM IC there. This is for the FM16W08, which is also on my desk here somewhere, I think. I've got them here somewhere. So these are smaller capacity versions. So it's meant for those devices, not the ones I've just bought. These are large capacity, these are for a different job. I think you can actually use these on a standard adapter. But these ones, you have to modify them a little bit because the pinouts are different. And when you go into this device, you have to shift it a little bit because you've got some unused pins, and so things are a little bit different. So thanks a lot JDD for making these boards available. I know other people have done it as well. Ian Johnson's done it, NFM have done it as well. So there's a few different people have done these sorts of boards for these sorts of conversions, mostly for doing data IC replacements. This one specifically for this particular device, which is exactly what I'm going to be replacing, so I've gone with this one. But you can do it for like the Dallas devices as well, and they are available. This is just being shared on PCBWay. It's got a little decoupling capacitor placement there as well. So you can put on a FM16W08. The only caveat with this is that when you're programming these, because the pinouts are going to be different, you can't just mount the SOIC device on here and then program it, because the programmer won't know what to do with it, because the pinouts aren't the same, memory locations won't be the same, that sort of stuff. So I don't know if you can actually work around that by selecting a different kind of device, maybe just not tell the programmer it's one of these, it's something else. Maybe say it's a Dallas device or something to work, I don't know, I might actually try that. Generally you have to program the SOIC device first, and then mount it on the board, and then you can use it. So the idea is you can actually read the SRAM into your programmer first. Now the tricky thing I've got, which I might need help with, I'm not sure yet, is that my Datron calibrator, it's an SRAM. which is battery backed. It's not a DANUS device. If it's one of those DANUS devices, you can take it out, put it in your EEPROM programmer or your programmer, and read the data straight out of it, and then rewrite it into something else. It's easy. But because my Datron calibrator is using a different system, it's a battery backed system. If I take that chip out of the board, it'll lose memory. Like, gone. So it has to maintain power. So I've got to try and figure out if I can read that device in circuit, which could be tricky because it's obviously connected to loads of other devices on that same circuit board. Yeah, so that's the thing I'm struggling with right now, is figuring out the best approach for that, because I absolutely do not want to lose the calibration data. Redoing that would be a bit of a nightmare. Not impossible, but it would be very time consuming, and I'd then always have that uncertainty, like, is it okay or not? Because that calibrator is one of the most accurate things I've got. And so, yeah, losing that would be bad. So I've got to figure out a way of reading that data from that calibrator board and backing it up, so then I can program the FRAM. Programming the FRAM I'm not worried about. I'm sure I can figure out a way of doing that. It shouldn't really be that hard. But reading it off the calibrator is the tricky bit, because I need to basically do it in circuit, and I'm pretty sure the other chips around it won't like that. So if you know where this package came from, put it down in the comments down below. Yeah, it's a big box. Something that's included is a thing to help open it. I've got one of these here somewhere as well from the last one. This is my second one of these things. I'll explain why. You know what, let's get it open. Sorry about the singlet, it's summertime here and it's really hot. And I'm sorry about the fat belly of it. It's after Christmas and I've been eating a lot. Oh, look at that, double boxed. Double boxed. Right, I'll not just do this again. So you can guess where this came from. Put it down. Oh, this sounds familiar, doesn't it? Right, let's open it up. Very nice. Some information there. So what this is a review item, and I will be doing a proper review video on this, so watch out for that. There's a press button there, power adapter, foot pedal, USB cable, finger cots. This is for doing scanning. So the CZUR, or maybe called CZUR, I guess that's probably more accurate to say, call it that. It's a document scanner. You can scan it to A3. Now I've previously done a review on the A18, and this one is the latest version. Oh, got the side lights thing. You just sit on the back and get the actual unit out. Then I was going to give you a little bit of a quick preview of what it looks like, and check out the review video when it comes out to see the whole thing. Let's try and get out of the box. Fortunately my desk is a bit cramped here. There we go. Well protected anyway. Packaging is excellent on this. You won't have to worry about money since it's damaged. Okay. So here it is. So basically you have a light here, which I'll get it out I suppose. Show you that. I'll tell you how to get it out. This is an optional light, you don't have to use it. You can leave it on the back there, magnets, and this shines light down at an angle. So if you're trying to do a document scan of something which is reflective, you can turn these lights off and use the lights on here so you don't get reflections back onto the camera, which is up here. Now this thing here is a high resolution unit. So the one I've got already, the 18, ET18, is 18 megapixel. This is the ET Max, which from memory was, what is it, 32? I've forgotten. Jeez, I'll have to look it up now. Anyway, let's have a look at this. It's the guide. There's specifications in here. I'd like to show the specs. But these can do all sorts of stuff. Automate orientation, it flattens the pages out, it just does so much. OCR scanning as well, so you can scan the document in, and you can also do searchable, so it's OCR'd. Actually specs in there, I guess in this one. software download thing. Okay, so I don't know what the resolution was now. I need to go and look it up. Quickly looked at it, it's 38 megapixel and 410 dpi. So that's 410 dpi. This is the highest spec model. The 18 I've got is rated at 18 megapixel, which I already mentioned. So the ET24, which is the previous model, which I think Curious Mark got when he did a review, that's 320 dpi and 24 megapixel. 30% better than the previous generation, in theory anyway, based on the specs. So I'm doing a full review on this. Now I actually used my ET18 already. I've scanned manuals and things like that, which things aren't normally available. If I get a physical manual for something and that manual's not already available online because I couldn't find it, I will make that available and publish it. I usually put it on my Patreon and stuff like that, and sometimes like K4BB and other sites I can share things on archive.org or whatever. But the thing I've had with that one is when I'm trying to scan A3 circuit diagrams with really small text on, I mean that scanner can do it, but I'd like a bit better resolution. And so I actually approached CZUR or CZUR and said, I would like to review your latest version and just have a look at that. And they said, yeah, sure, we saw your last one, we liked it. And so they sent me another one. So thank you very much CZUR or CZUR for supplying me with this for no cost for the purpose of review. Watch out for that review coming out very soon. I plan to do it after this video is released, so within a couple of days. And I'll go through the features, look at the software and show you some of the things that software can do. It's a very nice unit. At least the ET18, which I already have, is a very nice unit. I've really enjoyed using that, and so I'm hoping this will be even better because of the high resolution, which will be brilliant for doing these A3 circuit diagrams. Looking forward to that. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed, up there somewhere. Patreon support link over there, my Patreon, and see these circuit diagrams which I scan in these manuals if I do repairs, so I have to scan a book in. And there's other links down below there to watch things. Catch you later.